Welcome. I'm reading again from the book of Genesis, chapter 31 onwards. Chapter 31 onwards. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and that of that which was our father's hath he gotten all his glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return ye to the land of thy fathers and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father has been with me, and ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father has deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he had said thus, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. And if he had said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ring straight. Thus God has taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass at that time that the cattle conceived. And I lifted up mine eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring straight, speckled and grizzled. And the angel of God said unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. He said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring straight, speckled and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban has done unto thee. I am God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. Now whereas get thee out from the land, return to thy land of the kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him as strangers? For he has sold us, and has devoured also our money. For all the riches which God has taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's. Now then, whatso God has said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up, and set his sons and his wives upon the camels. And he carried away all his cattle and his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Padan Aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he had told him not, that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and arose up and passed over the river, and he set his face towards Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him, and pursued after him 7 days. And they overtook him in Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. And Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said unto Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, carried away my daughters as captives, taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me, that I may have sent thee away with mirth, with songs, with tabret, and with harp? And hast thou not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Thou hast done now foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the God of your father spake unto me as tonight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good nor bad. And now, though thou wouldst needs be gone, because thou so longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure thou wouldst take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not leave. Before our brethren desert thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the 2 maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then he went out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said unto her father, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, and found not the images. And Jacob was wroth, and chid with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge between us both. This 20 years I have been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she goats have not cast their young, and the rams of the flock have I not eaten. That which is torn of the beast I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of mine hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus was I in the day the drought consumed me, the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus I have been 20 years in thy house. I have served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all thou seest is mine. And what can I do unto thee, these my daughters, and unto the children which thou hast born? And now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let there be it for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones, made a heap, and they did eat upon the heap. And Laban called it Jagar Sahadutta, but Jacob called it Khalid. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Khalid. And Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between me and thee, when we are absent from one another. If thou afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is a witness between me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, behold this pillar, which I have cast between me and thee. This heap be witness, this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. And God of Jacob, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up, kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place. Chapter 32. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, This is God's host. And he calls the place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob says thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants, and women servants. And I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find grace in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We come to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 bands, and said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, the other company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which said to me, Return unto thy country, and to thy kindred. Return, I will deal with thee, well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of thy mercies of all the truth, which thou hast showed upon thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am come with 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me, and the mother with the children. And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for a multitude. And he lost there the same night. and took of that which came into his hand as a present for Esau his brother, 200 she goats, 20 he goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milch camels with their colts, 40 kine, 10 bulls, 20 she asses, and 10 foals. And he delivered them into the hand of the servants, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, Pass over before me, put a space between drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, Whose art thou, and whither goest thou, and whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau. And behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed the droves, saying, On this manner shall he speak unto Esau when he find him. And say ye moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before thee. And afterward I'll see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent them over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there was wrestled with him a man until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, and he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day is breaking. And he said, I will not let thee go, except that thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince thou hast power with God and men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. For I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose up upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew with which rank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank.